Hey guys, in this video, I'll be talking about the top 5 wide receivers you should have in your NFL fantasy lineups. Coming right up. How you doing, guys? It's Darion Hopkins here from the Spotlight Sports Talk, and we here to talk about our channel and what we do on our channel, who to start and who to sit in week by week fantasy picks from DraftKings, FanDuel, ESPN, NFL Fantasy, you name it. We got it right here. So before we get started with these picks, if you're definitely new to the page, I'll definitely consider subscribing if you want more news and latest updates around fantasy football and DFS. So let's get started, and these are my top 5 wide receivers that you should have in your NFL fantasy lineups in week 6. The first wide receiver that we have on our list here is T.Y. Hilton from the Indianapolis Colts going up against the Tennessee Titans. Hilton has listed as a stardom last week and went off for 177 yards and 24.7 PPR points in the win over the 49ers. He should remain hot against the Titans, who have allowed the third most points with 39.64 PPR points to wideouts this season. Hilton has also dominated this AFC South rival last season, posting 12 receptions for 230 yards and 2 touchdowns. T.Y. Hilton has been on fire the last couple weeks, and I really do like him against the Tennessee Titans secondary that have been struggling this week. So if you do have T.Y. Hilton, please do not bench him. I prefer for you to start him this week. The next wide receiver that we have on our list here is Larry Fitzgerald from the Arizona Cardinals going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Fitzgerald hasn't been the most consistent wideout in fantasy football this season, scoring 44% of his PPR points in just one game. Still, this week's matchup versus the Buccaneers make him a solid start. Their defense has allowed the most PPR points with 48.3 points per game to wideouts overall, including a ridiculous 62.2 points on the road. So I do like this matchup with Larry Fitzgerald. He's going to be a solid start. Brandon Cooks and Chris Hogan definitely went off against the Buccaneers on Thursday Night Football. They definitely had some big stats. Defense has given up a lot of points to wide receivers this year. So I definitely would take Larry Fitzgerald in my lineup this week for NFL Fantasy or any league that you have. The next wide receiver that we have on our list here is Chris Hogan from the New England Patriots going up against the New York Jets. Hogan has been one of the most underrated wide receivers in fantasy football this season, ranking 5th in PPR format with just 2.8 fewer points than Stephon Diggs. He should remain in your starting lineup this week against the Jets, who have allowed 5 touchdowns to wideouts in their first 4 games. Look for Hogan to hulk up again. I have to agree, Chris Hogan has been very underrated in fantasy football. He has been putting up a lot of points ever since he got put on the map over in New England. I really don't like the Jets' pass defense in this situation here with Tom Brady, knowing that he's under, he's bruised up and everything, but he'll be back to play the Jets as well. So I really do like this matchup with Chris Hogan versus the Jets. The next wide receiver that we have on our lineup here is Tate from the Detroit Lions going up against the New Orleans Saints defense. Tate has been a disappointment over the last 2 weeks, scoring a combined of 15.9 PPR points with no touchdowns. I'll keep the faith in the former Golden Domer, however, as the Saints have allowed an average of 35.6 PPR points to wideouts at home. Their defense has also given up the 3rd most receiving yards, 485 receiving yards to slot wideouts. Tate has been a disappointment. I do have him in a few of my lineups in these fantasy leagues. He has been a disappointment knowing he's going up against mediocre defenses in the last couple weeks, but I think he's definitely going to go off this week with this New Orleans Saints defense that has not been great the last couple years and even the last 5 weeks into this year. So I really do like this matchup with Golden Tate. And the last wide receiver that we have on our list here is Adam Thielen from the Minnesota Vikings going up against the Green Bay Packers defense. Thielen's stat line has been modest with a 9.5 PPR points in last week's win over the Chicago Bears, but I'm looking for bigger wins as he faces the Packers. This defense has allowed an average of 186 yards and the 4th most PPR points, 40.95 PPR points to wideouts on the road. Slot receivers have scored at least 3 touchdowns overall. Adam Thielen has been another underrated receiver for me in fantasy football. Everybody's picking up on Stephon Diggs, but nobody really looking at Adam Thielen. when it comes to lineups. I do have him in a few of my lineups as well. I do like it against the Green Bay Packers because I like what Dez Bryant did against those corners in the safeties last week against them. So I would like Adam Thielen to have a big game against the Green Bay Packers. And here are some other startups that you should have at the wide receiver position. You had Kelvin Benjamin from the Panthers going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. You have Rashard Matthews from the Tennessee Titans going up against the Indianapolis Colts on Monday Night Football. And then here are some of my sleepers that I have involved too. Jerron Brown from the Arizona Cardinals going up against the Buccaneers. And Jermaine Kearse from the New York Jets going up against the New England Patriots. And there you have it, guys. These are my top 5 wide receivers that you should have in your NFL lineup going into Week 6 for fantasy football. If you're not subscribed to our channel, I suggest that you subscribe to get all the latest updates and the latest news around fantasy football on who to start, on who to sit week by week. I am Darian Hopkins from the Spotlight Sports Talk, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.